Good morning, friends. This is Gopal Agarwal, from a student of biotechnology from the NIPA Mohali. So this is my first educational video, and in my first educational video, I'm presenting to you how to sequence polypeptides, right? So today we will start sequencing a polypeptide, but before sequencing a polypeptide, we are first going to see some basic concepts, right, that will be useful to us in sequencing a polypeptide. So the first question that comes here is, what are polypeptides? So let us now split the term polypeptides. So by splitting the polypeptides into two fragments, we will get poly and another is peptide. Poly, its usual meaning is many, as we all know. Peptides, right, so it is a protein molecules that has been formed from two amino acids formed by the condensation reaction and forming a peptide bond between the carboxy terminal and the nitro terminal of the two amino acids. So it means when two amino acids, they are being joined with one another by a condensation reaction and a loss of water molecule, you are having a peptide bond formation, right? And that is a peptide. When such peptides are being arranged with each others, right, forming a very long chain, again the two peptides will join with each other forming a peptide bond, right? So you're going to have a very long chain of peptide, and that is called as a polypeptides. Now as we talk of amino acids, uh, here we are having 20 amino acids that occur in nature, and of this, as we all know, that they all have a 3-letter code and a 1-letter code. So for example, glycine is been known by GLY and its 1-letter code is G, right? So for sequencing of polypeptides, it's usually we are using 1-letter code, and therefore for the further slides you need to remember 1-letter code of all amino acids, as it will be useful to us. Now after seeing that what are peptide bonds, now let us see how the peptide bonds have been formed. So in this figure you are seeing two amino acids, one is methionine and second is alanine. Now friends, the methionine written over here, it means that the R group that is in the basic general structure of amino acid, and alanine also occurring in the basic general amino acid. So here in both these cases, methionine and alanine, here methionine written over here is the, it means that the R group of the amino acid is having the methionine, and alanine written at the left hand side amino acid, it means that the R group that occurs in general amino acid structure is alanine. So now let us see the ball and stick model of the two amino acid. So above the methionine amino acid, there is a ball and stick model of methionine. Above alanine, there is a ball and stick model of alanine, right? The C atom is nitrogen, and the light blue, they are the hydrogen. Brown one is carbon dioxide, carbon, and the red one, right, it's the oxygen in both of the ball and stick model. Now from the two amino acids that we are using for forming a peptide bond in the condensation reaction, it's essential for us to know which atoms will involve in the formation of the peptide bond. So here I have lightened this atoms that have been responsible for the formation of the peptide bond with the yellow color. It means that from methionine, oxygen, and from aniline, two hydrogen will be removed as a product of water, and C double bond O of methionine and NH of alanine, they will then combine to form a peptide bond, and both of these then amino acid will form a peptide bond, as you're seeing here. The water has been removed as a byproduct and a peptide bond has been formed. And the above this, that is, you are seeing a in very light shade the ball and stick model of the peptide that has been formed. So similarly, other amino acids will be then attached to the growing chain, right? And the oxygen from the alanine then will be removed, and the two hydrogens from the next amino acid will be removed, and the array and the chain will then grow as per the needed. Second basic concept that you need to know is specificity of enzymes. Many enzymes, they cleave at particular amino acids only. So and at which terminal, right? That's called as the cleavage points, right? So we need to know that, for example, trypsin from the bovine pancreas, right? It cleaves only lysine and arginine. So in the further slides you will see lysine will be denoted as K, arginine will be denoted as R, because there are the one letter code for the lysine and arginine respectively. Similarly, you have chymotrypsin, pepsin, cyanogen bromide that cleave at a particular amino acid only. This is called the specificity of enzymes, right, for their cleavage. So in the coming slides we'll focus on trypsin. So you need to remember that trypsin will cleave lysine, arginine, chymotrypsin will cleave phenylalanine, tryptophan and tyrosine. So phenylalanine will be denoted as F, tryptophan as W and tyrosine as Y. And you remember that both of this enzyme, trypsin and chymotrypsin, cleaves from the C terminal end of the amino acids. So after such basics, let us start our journey of sequencing of polypeptide. So the first thing you need to know is about Sanger's method. So Sanger was a scientist who developed a reagent called as 1,fluoro-2,4-dinitrobenzene reagent. It is commonly abbreviated as FDNB. Now this reagent FDNB, it labels the amino terminal residue of the amino acid. So of the polypeptide, wherever there is an amino terminal residue, this FDNB will bind to it and label it. So after you hydrolyze it, so as you are seeing in the figure, right? So there is a polypeptide. We are treating it with the FDNB, right? And so it has then labeled the amino terminal, that is the first amino acid present at the end terminal of the polypeptide, and once it has attached to the amino terminal of the polypeptide, so after we are hydrolyzing with the 6 molar HCl, so it has then undergone the hydrolysis and it has separated the amino terminal residue, right, and the remaining polypeptide chain. So from the whole polypeptide chain, now the end terminal residue has been left, has been removed. So similarly, you can, after one chain is been after one amino acid has been removed, so now the other amino acid is now at the end terminal position. For example, there is a aniline, tyrosine, tryptophan, phenylalanine polypeptide chain. So after removing aniline, right, by the FDNB method, now tyrosine, that is now at the second position, becomes the end terminal, because first is alanine, second is tyrosine, So now tyrosine has become at the end terminal position after the removal of the aniline. So first it was aniline, now it is tyrosine, right? So now after removal of tyrosine, the third amino acid is tryptophan. So now tryptophan will be then removed. Tryptophan will become the end terminal residue. So similarly, you can go on labeling FDN with the NBNB, and you can sequence the whole polypeptide. But we will use this FDNB only for the initial stage of the coming sequencing that we are going to see. So how you know that whether your RDS, what N terminal residue is which amino acid? You need to identify the amino terminal residue with the help of some reagents. You need to identify the RDS, which group is attached to it, and on the basis of that you come to know that which amino acid is the N terminal residue. Now, in order to sequence a whole polypeptide, we have to take a example. So in this example, we are taking a polypeptide of 19 amino acids whose sequence is unknown, and we are sequencing it. We are treating this polypeptide initially with the FDNB reagent. So from that we are going to get the N-terminal residue amino acid, and also we are treating this polypeptide with the trypsin and chymotrypsin. Now why we are treating this with trypsin and chymotrypsin, we will see in the coming slides. So initially the polypeptide is treated with the FDNB, right? So after treating with FDNB, it is we found that the amino acid was proline. So we determined the amino acid, right, and it was found that it was a proline, and thus the amino terminal residue has been now known. So now of the 19 amino acid, we are knowing that at the amino terminal at the starting of polypeptide, right, the first amino acid, so here you're seeing the 19 amino acid line, right, so of which your first amino acid you are knowing, and that is the proline. Sorry, we are having the 20. Okay, so now let us move further. So now we are treating the polypeptide with trypsin enzyme, and we are getting the following result. So from the treating with FDNP, we got to know that at the, of the 20 amino acids, right, at the N terminal residue there is proline. So now remaining 19 amino acids, we need to know their position and which amino acids they have been there. So 4 fragments we are getting by treating with the trypsin. So fragment number 1 when identified show the sequence of, so it is T1, that is fragment number 1 that has been obtained by treating with the trypsin enzyme, and that we got is as phenylalanine, tryptophan, tyrosine and lysine. Now remember that trypsin, it cleaves the C-terminal amino acid residue having lysine and arginine. It means that after lysine, whatever will be the portion will be cleaved, right? After the C terminal of the lysine and arginine, whatever the amino acid we are having, it will be cleaved. For example, in this case, you are having phenylalanine, tryptophan, tyrosine, lysine, and suppose after this lysine, you are having vanillin, isoleucine, leucine, right? So the fragment that you will get will be of leucine, isoleucine, vanillin, and also of phenylalanine, tyrosine, tryptophan and lysine, because the trypsin has cleaved it in such a way after the C-terminal residue of the amino acid. Similarly, 3 other fragments that found, it shows the T2 having the PGAVLFW, T3 DEIM, and T4 as STC and Q. So now remember that trypsin cleaves only lysine and arginine at the C terminal position, right? So we are seeing that trypsin cleaves the C terminal position, so at the lysine and the arginine. So at the first position there is a lysine at the C terminal, at the second there is a lysine, at the fourth there is a arginine, but at the third there is neither lysine, there is neither arginine, right? So thus the polypeptide is having the sequence of PGGAVLFWK DEIM. So trypsin has cleaved after the lysine, so we are getting the 2 fragment as DEIM and the above stuff, right? So the T3 fragment is at the C terminal, as it does not have any of the lysine or arginine present at the and remaining of them have it. So you are seeing the T3 fragment that we have obtained after treating with the trypsin, right? It is having DEIM, right? It means that this T3 fragment is at the C terminal. It does not have neither lysine, neither arginine. It means that it is somewhere either at the end or at the beginning of the residues, right? Either at the of the polypeptide at the C terminal or the N terminal, but this here it is at the C terminal and the EIM is at the C terminal and because if it was at the N terminal, right, then there would be some another fragment also that would be obtained with the lysine or the arginine. It will be a very big fragment, but here we are getting with a small fragment without the lysine and arginine. It means that this is at the C terminal end. So now we are knowing the 5 amino acid position of the 20. So we are from the 20, we are now identify the 5. First is proline, and at the 17, 18, 19 and 20 position we are having DEIM amino acid respectively. Now let us move further. So after the treatment with chymotrypsin, we get some more fragments, right? So we got the first fragment with YWKSTCNQRDEIM. C2 we got WSTCNQRDEIM, and C3 we got KSTCNQRDEIM. Chymotrypsin cleaves what? It cleaves phenylalanine, tryptophan and tyrosine from the C terminal. So now we are seeing C1. So there is a after the C terminal there is a phenylalanine, tryptophan, right? It's been present over there. So before at the C1 you are having a fragment, right, that is having phenylalanine, tryptophan, KSTCNQRDEIM. So it means that in the C1 fragment before tyrosine there will be either phenylalanine, tryptophan or another tyrosine molecule, right? And secondly, what we are seeing is DEIM is been repeated at the end in every fragment that is been obtained by the chymotrypsin. So it means that DEIM is that is present at the C terminal of the polypeptide, right? So the amino acids that are between this phenylalanine, tryptophan and tyrosine, they are also present at the C terminal of the polypeptide, right? So seeing C1 that we are getting another 9 amino acid at the C terminal site, because we are now knowing that the EIM is at the C terminal, and before the EIM we are having the 9 amino acid YWKSTCNQR. We are not taking before Y because we don't know whether it is phenylalanine, tyrosine or tryptophan, right? But we are knowing till now that DEIM is at C terminal, so we are placing the DEIM at the C terminal, right? And before the C terminal we are having the 9 amino acids that are YWKSTCNQR. So now total we have got the amino acids. First proline, the EIM was at the C terminal. Now YKSTCNQR also we are getting it. Now we are remain with the 6 amino acid. Now just recall the fragments that are obtained from the trypsin. So in the trypsin you got the T1, T2, T3, T4 fragments, right? So that is by FYWK, PGG, AVLF, WK, DEIM, STQNR. So thus Y, in every Y, before every Y there is a phenylalanine. So before Y at the 7th position you will get now phenylalanine. Now remaining 5 amino acids now we need to know. After P, in the second fragment that is been obtained by the chymotrypsin, you are having GGAVL. It means that this GGAL will be at the 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th and 6th position. So we are going to get this way 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that is GGAVLF, right? So The whole sequence you are getting it: PGGAVLF YWPSTCNQRDEIM, and in this way we have sequenced the polypeptide. So I hope you have got the basic concepts right, and I'm thanking you. Hope we meet soon with some other educational video. The suggestions are highly welcome at the given email ID. Thank you.